away from anything labeled all natural or made from real juice or real fruit or no artificial colors or preservatives. Are you confused by food labels? They are deceptive. So here's how you can be a smarter shopper. Don't be fooled by total grams of carbohydrates. If you're on a low carbohydrate diet or a ketogenic diet, you're going to be turned off if you see a high carbohydrate number as labeled on a cereal box or yogurt. And you may pick processed foods with low carbohydrates, such as something with high protein bars or protein cookies, and think that these foods are better for you. These are marketing gimmicks, and I'm going to empower you with some rules of nutrition so you understand what the problem is. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates eaten in excess can all make you gain weight and spike your insulin and destroy your metabolism, all except for one, and that's fiber. Fiber is the only natural food, a carbohydrate that uses up your energy, prevents insulin spikes, and protects your metabolism because you can't digest it. But this part is really important. So please grab a paper and pencil to take notes and let me walk you through more of the science. Carbohydrates actually spike your insulin, and so do proteins. Fat has twice as many calories as carbohydrates and is really the main cause of weight gain and insulin resistance. Now, fiber is a negative calorie food. You burn calories, your body loses fat, you lose weight, and you control your insulin spikes and tone down your sugar if you eat enough fiber and eat those in whole plant foods first. There's an added bonus to fiber. It feeds your gut microbiome. That intestinal bacteria, they make anti-inflammatory molecules that doubles the protection from being insulin resistant. Why is fiber lumped with total carbohydrates? Well, this is where food labels are confusing. Fiber is technically a carbohydrate, but metabolically it absolutely does not behave the same as sugars and other carbohydrates in your body. And I was confused, and I used to remove the skin of grapes because I thought that gave me more calories. But it's the opposite. The skin of grapes have negative calories, and it actually protects your body from the energy surge that is in the rest of the fruit, the simple sugar. And this is why juice is terrible for you and your kids. This is why flour is terrible for anyone to eat, even if it is gluten-free. These are processed, highly refined foods that are missing fiber, and in it, they hide fat, they hide salt, and they hide more sugar. This is also true for oils, whether that's a seed oil or a fruit oil. Olive oil is not a healthy food, but the whole world is tricked. Food labels and the food industry have hijacked our words to describe foods. So the best words are not all natural or made from real juice or real fruit or no artificial colors or preservatives. You will know if you recognize the food. Have you seen any of these labels on an apple, a carrot, or a watermelon that's fresh? No, because we all recognize it as food. Any label that has to explain what's inside is a processed food. In fact, you don't need any words to describe good food. All you have to do is use your eyes and pretend you are in a forest when you go shopping. Only eat foods that you can recognize if you're stuck in a forest. Nature has pre-packaged natural foods, real foods with vibrant colors, flavors, packaged in fiber, not plastic and not paper. But when you eat processed foods with little to no fiber, or the fiber has been destroyed, these are foods that are stacked on the grocery store shelves and sold in restaurants. These are energy bombs that destroy your metabolism, raise your blood sugar and your body fat, your insulin, and make you metabolically sick. So let's talk about some practical tips for healthy shopping to change this metabolism. Number one, buy foods that require no labels. If you buy them in bulk, like seeds and grains, buy them whole and unprocessed. These are foods you should aim to eat first before any meals or snacks. Number two, avoid any food that is powdery or was once powdery. So sugars, flours, cakes, cookies, bread, cereals, donuts, bagels, tortillas, tamales, rice cakes. These will destroy your metabolism. The only exception for powdery foods are spices. Spices are good for you to eat. I would recommend you eat more of them. They can help you reduce weight and control your blood sugars. Keep your food whole. It is protective. So eating an apple is very different than eating applesauce or drinking apple juice. A whole apple takes a lot longer to chew. That will suppress your appetite. And when you eat a whole apple, the fiber creates a barrier, a fiber wall in your intestines to prevent the rapid absorption of other caloric foods. This helps to regulate your blood sugar levels and prevent insulin spikes. Whereas drinking juice will increase both your insulin and your blood sugar. Targeting at least 40 grams of fiber a day is beneficial. A little wall won't protect you like a big wall, and that's why 40 grams is good, or even more. But any rapid source of energy, whether it is a protein, carb, or fat, or alcohol, is actually quite toxic. It suppresses your immune system and destroys your metabolism, and this leads to insulin resistance. And this is why people who depend upon IV nutrition, like total parental nutrition, TPN, get serious life-threatening infections like fungal infections and fatty liver. Now, these people don't get fiber. They can't eat. And when you drink pure sugar, whether it's a soda or apple juice on an empty stomach, you are essentially giving yourself an IV sugar solution because there's nothing to buffer the absorption. And this leads directly to insulin resistance and fatty liver. Now, eating fiber feeds and breeds a healthy gut microbiome to help you reverse inflammation, to help you control your weight. A bad gut microbiome has been linked to getting overweight. Target, again, at least 40 grams of fiber, because then you're going to have leftover food to feed your gut microbiome. And hence, a high fiber smoothie is better than juice, but eating a whole apple is so much better than drinking a smoothie. You need to eat about 9 apples in a day to get 40 grams of fiber. Now, this is where beans is so much better. You're going to get bored eating 9 apples. Eating beans actually lowers your blood sugar, lowers your insulin, controls your weight, lowers your cholesterol, lowers inflammation. And beans are packed with fiber. 1 cup of cooked beans has over 15 grams of fiber, which is more than what an average American eats in an entire day. Eating 1 cup per meal for 3 meals will supercharge your health. However, eating fiber is a learning process because your gut has to learn to digest it. You won't feel good if you go from 0 beans to eating 3 cups a day. You're going to be bloated, fiber traps in water, and it also feeds your gut microbiome. And when it's digesting, it's going to make a lot of gas. So you're going to feel pretty bloated. And this is actually very normal, but you got to work up to eating 3 cups. I would just start with 1 bean a day, maybe a teaspoon of beans with every meal, and then work yourself up. And if you get rid of the animal products, the eggs, the chicken, and the meat, when you pass that gas, it won't smell bad. So don't rush into adding a whole lot of fiber. Train your body and do it slowly. I would say roughly train yourself over a couple of weeks to get to 1 cup and then take several more weeks to get to 3 cups. When you shop, you got to be careful of hidden sugars that continues the addiction, like in sauces and dressings. And look for any type of sugar that is first, second, or third on the label and skip those foods. Most processed foods on the market are trying to trick you and play with sugar names. And they all have like different names that ultimately are all sugar that will spike your insulin and raise your inflammation. There's really no shame in the food industry. So I've seen packages where they have 5 different sugars on one product. And you feel better because they have plant names as an adjective before the chemical. So like high fructose corn syrup, beet sugar, cane sugar, date sugar, brown rice syrup, maple sugar, sorghum syrup. These are plant chemicals. They are not food. Morphine is technically a plant chemical. Poppy seeds have morphine. I think it's okay to eat poppy seeds, but I don't think it's acceptable to put morphine in your bread. Plant chemicals were not meant to be eaten without the other parts of the plant. Kind of like cyanide. You know, cyanide is a natural plant chemical and it's found in the middle of apple seeds. But I think you can agree it's not so good for your health. Have you swallowed any cyanide? I have. I've swallowed apple seeds accidentally. But you know, obviously I'm still alive. You're still alive. The seed has a protective casing and there's so little cyanide in one seed that it's really not a problem. However, when you concentrate it, take hundreds of seeds and purified that cyanide, you just made yourself a lethal toxin. Who eats that many apples? Like, really, nobody, right? But when you drink a cup of juice, you're drinking 3 apples. When you concentrate cyanide, it takes minutes to kill you. When you drink the fructose in juices, it takes decades to kill you. And along the way, you get pretty sick. Half the processed foods on the market are trying to sell us soda, candy, bread, crackers, sauces, ready-made meals. They all have some kind of labeling like all natural, GMO-free, organic, real fruit juice, plant syrup, plant sugar. It doesn't matter what you call sugar, whatever adjective, corn, rice, maple, date, beet, etc. When you consume it processed, it's going to make you overweight, make you feel tired, get you moody, make you unproductive, give you diabetes, gout, fatty liver, anxiety, depression, heart disease, kidney disease, and infectious diseases. You just need to give it enough time. So the goal is eat your food unprocessed, avoid ultra-processed foods. And the reality is, whether you're baking bread or buying fresh bread or buying shelf-stable bread, it's still ultra-processed food and it's not a health food. But if you must eat bread, pick a bread that has higher fiber. Look for a bread or a snack with a carbohydrate to fiber ratio of 5 grams of carbohydrates to 1 gram of fiber. This means that a slice of bread, let's say with a total carbohydrate of 20 grams, should have at least 4 grams of fiber in it. And if it doesn't, it's pure junk. Now, when you eat processed foods, the other part is that they stuff it with fats. Like olive oil, butter, or coconut oil. Definitely avoid trans fats and lower your fat intake, because fats are really why people have elevated glucose and fatty liver. Dairy products and meats are really a big part of the problem. And yes, technically, fat doesn't directly spike your insulin, but they do something worse. They make you insulin resistant. They make you unable to process your sugars. So vegetable oil like olive oil or butter or any animal fats, they all have twice as many calories as carbohydrates or proteins, and it makes you pack on weight faster. This is why when you have an underweight toddler, your pediatrician will tell you to add oil or another pure fat to get calories in your child so that they can grow. They are metabolizing so quickly that they need pure energy, pure fat to grow. And as an adult, you may not be growing tall, but you're still growing. You could be growing wider. And as long as you're spiking your insulin, you're gonna grow more wide. This is a guarantee. If you don't eat enough calories, you won't grow. And as long as you're eating more energy, even if you think you're eating very little, it's more energy than your body needs, and you're gonna gain weight. And the more insulin resistant you become, the easier it will be for you to gain weight. It becomes its own vicious cycle. So this is where buying and eating foods with water is protective. It's better to buy grapes than raisins. It's better to buy fresh apricots than dried apricots. It's better to eat a bowl of cooked oatmeal than it is to eat a dry granola bar. Water fills you up and it gets you full, and fresh foods have a lot of water. It also has a lot more nutrients and lower sugar. Remember, don't shop when you're hungry. Stores, they sell you pretend food decorated in artificial colors and flavors, especially on the shelves. These foods are just coming out of a chemistry lab. Avoid them. Health is a lifetime journey. If you want to learn more about foods that power your health, check out my easy dieting videos.